Welcome back into the chill zone. I hope you guys have been good. I have been great. Working in silence, producing this content. Of course, as you can see, working on the studio setup. Hopefully you guys do indeed enjoy the new setup. Today we're going to be talking about something that's very special because it's OriginTrail expanding into a new sector. Now I say new, but we have seen this coming for quite some time. Like on the Trace Labs website, we've always seen all of these different industries that they're affecting, or different standards or different things that they uphold. And for the longest time, we've seen the big coming soon under the pharmaceuticals section. So today we're going to be diving into that. Of course, we don't have all the details yet, but we do have some detail. So that's enough for us to start digging in, right? So let's begin. So let's start off by going through this article released by Yuri, the general manager of the Trace Labs, and the title is Decentralized Knowledge Graph as the Technology Backbone of the Life Sciences and Healthcare Industry. It has been over a year since the global COVID-19 pandemic started and exposed the fragility of the global supply chain, particularly in the life sciences and healthcare industry. Numerous frauds with PPE and recent COVID-19 vaccine distribution highlighted the importance of trusted certification and traceability systems. While various attempts to create such systems are ongoing, they have yet to be deployed with sufficient scale and interoperability to leave a significant global impact. Of course, when we start thinking about OriginTrail and how far along they are in achieving these goals, not just achieving them, but achieving them in an open source and decentralized manner, allowing for everyone in the supply chain, every stakeholder in the supply chain, to have a stake in the systems that they leverage. Well, we see that this is quite a timely release because as Yuri said, there are no other solutions out there that are at scale to solve this issue. So let's dive into the World Health Organization policy paper a little bit, and for really one particular reason. Now, on the 18th of March, the World Health Organization did release a policy paper that says policy paper on traceability of medical products. Now, the reason why we want to dive into this paper really quick, of course, to get a brief understanding of what is actually in the paper, but also to highlight a fellow face to the chill zone. Well, maybe not a face, but at least a name. Under the acknowledgements portions, it says this guidance was written by Dirk Rogers, an independent consultant. Now, if you have been watching my channel for some time, we already covered some previous articles by Dirk, and we highlighted exactly why OriginTrail is the perfect fit for the US FDA, for any food standards organization called DSCSA, why FDA will not mandate blockchain, EPCIS, or any other specific technology. This article, of course, is released by Dirk Rogers, who is the founder of RxTrace, where he writes regularly on the intersection between pharmaceutical supply chain. And in fact, I'm going to slip in here that the OriginTrail team was contacted by one of the largest food standard agencies in the world. This was released in the latest office hours by Ziga himself. You can hear him discussing how OriginTrail is already blazing the trail at the highest levels of society today.
I had a call this week with the largest food and drug authority, one of the largest in the world. What's interesting is they're asking how quickly data can be queried using OriginTrail network. And as you see, it can be queried across, let's say that you're reading data from blockchains or that you're reading data from supply chain data sources. This can be done all the way to the unit level in a matter of minutes, perhaps even quicker. And when they told us what others can do, it was about hours, sometimes days. So OriginTrail is vastly more capable to query data in complex supply chains.
You broke up a little bit, so I wasn't sure. I'm sorry. You said the other entities were able to do this in hours, and OriginTrail was able to do this in seconds?
It takes much more time. Yeah, it takes hours, sometimes days. Sometimes even weeks, retrieve data from more complex supply chains, going beyond just one step back, one step forward across multiple organizations. And this is a game changer.
And you bring up something that got me thinking, because
So enough about that. We've covered that Dirk is a friendly face to the channel, and he here is actually writing or actually consulting and providing information and insight to the World Health Organization to create this particular report. That's unbelievably impressive. Congratulations, Dirk. Now, we won't dive too deep into the World Health Organization policy paper, primarily because the OriginTrail article itself, or URI, does do a good example or good explanation as to what they're solving as it relates to the paper. So we can just go ahead by reading on here. Identification and use of global standards. GS1 standards have been an important part of the life sciences and healthcare industry for decades. Now, if you are a frequent consumer of my content, I did make a funny video for the OriginTrail community explaining why VChain may face issues with adoption at a global level because of the lack of the use of GS1 standards.
Te llamo para que vaya a recoger las paelleras. Y me acuesto en su, ya para abrir el restaurante que era el arroz. Y me llama el cocinero. Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren, bañador. Pues las chanclas. Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme las chanclas y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. Eso. Tú, había subido la mano y encontré una paella. Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de Chipiona, del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y adentro la 20 paelleras. ¡Asómate! ¡Mira dónde llega el agua! ¡Llegaba el agua hasta el restaurante! ¡Había subido la marea! ¡Eso! ¡Hay que hacerlo ahora! ¡Con los 2 sacos de arroz! ¡Ay, llama para Sevilla! ¡Llama a Sevilla que traigo paella!
Now, when we're talking about capturing the data using these barcodes and these different GS1 standards, they themselves are standards. Now, you start seeing things like the GTINs, etc., etc. Now, in the future, these things are about to be upgraded with the GS1 digital link, which is like an amalgamation of all of these different standards into one, but we won't get into that. So what we're saying here is the OriginTrail ecosystem is already standards based. It's based off of GS1 standards. Scan here that the item was scanned in this supply chain at this time. It was captured. The event was captured here, so on and so forth. But what makes this readable, what makes this make sense is the way the data is formatted, and EPCIS is a way of formatting that data so that it makes sense. Now, if you're using EPCIS, which is the up and coming solution, the up and coming standard in the pharmaceutical industry, is really gonna be the backbone of the pharmaceutical industry, as we already discussed in our previous video, where we have experts saying, listen, EPCIS is the way to go. Clearly, most people agree that the industry will shift to the use of EPCIS event-based data exchanged, even before it is necessary to meet the EDDS in 2023. In step number 1, it says, pick a standard for communication between trading partners. Even though EPCIS seems that it is the clear winner here, and when you combine the two, well, you get the ability to capture and share that data effectively, or capture and store that data in a way that makes sense to everyone. So by using OriginTrail, you then have the ability to capture the data. You also have the data to format the data, but you also then have the ability to share the data seamlessly among the entire supply chain with no security risks. So this is why OriginTrail is like a really amazing fit for this ecosystem. And they say here, the OriginTrail DKG also combines the use of GS1 standards with use of upcoming W3C verifiable credentials, enabling trusted verification of each part of the DKG, providing levels of interoperability and integrity otherwise not conceivable. OriginTrail is providing a unique service to this entire industry. There's not a lot of industries, or there's not a lot of solutions that are, first of all, open source, which is what everyone wants to use. People want to use open networks, open technologies that can have this level of security. Because you're not going to want to put all of this on the Bitcoin or Ethereum blockchain where everyone can see all of your private data being transmitted. That's going to ruin your competitive advantage in the supply chain. So OriginTrail, again, is a one-of-a-kind solution because of its decentralized knowledge graph. So next we move kind of into lot and batch level. We move into lot, batch level traceability and unit level traceability. Keeping in tune with the conversations of our previous videos, we also spoke about the DSCSA, or the Drug Supply Chain Act. Now this requires entities to be able to track their goods down to the product level. So for example, if I'm talking about tracking this particular bottle, usually they'll be able to track it by the batch, okay? But unit level tracing is being able to trace where this exact bottle went at this time, at this date. It's a total upgrade. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of solutions that can provide this level of traceability in an open way that everyone can use for the highest level of interoperability. Well, OriginTrail solves that problem because OriginTrail allows for unit level traceability. In fact, let's listen to Yuri have a little discussion about this. This is where OriginTrail's DKG is uniquely suited to bridge the gap, establishing relationships between product packaging levels, the associated serial number allocations, and cross-organizational supply chain events required to trace individual units is what the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph was designed for. This means tracing individual units across their supply chain path is no longer a pipe dream. And indeed, please keep in mind, this was indeed a pipe dream to the industry. Having this level of interoperability, this level of, I guess, focus or targeted focus on the product at the product level was totally impossible because of all the data fragmentation and all the different issues from, vendor lock-in and so on and so forth. So now OriginTrail is allowing for the entire global supply chain to be able to seamlessly connect data and share data on the new internet. There are a bit more points throughout this article to dive into, like the aggregation data, where aggregation data establishes the parent-child relationship between serialized containers, parents, and the serialized units inside the containers, children. There's a physical representation of what this looks like, but if you, again, just want to shout him out again, you see Dirk at the bottom of the article here, of this image here. What does this mean? So what is OriginTrail's role from the perspective of all this aggregated data? Well, it says here, the OriginTrail's decentralized knowledge graph's value here is serving as a decentralized repository of aggregation data for each manufacturer and enabling them to provide control access to authorized supply chain partners. This data then becomes a part of the wider knowledge graph, ultimately providing end-to-end transparency the industry is in the search of through serialization. So I guess the real question would be, what kind of entities are using these solutions, or what kind of entities are seeking these solutions? Well, in the OriginTrail article here, it says entities like Pfizer, J&J, Johnson & Johnson, Bayer. These are some big entities that all have a stake in the supply chain that need this sort of technology. And again, OriginTrail is one of a kind. Just gonna leave that right there. Now, I encourage and implore you to read the rest of this video, but we're going to dive into a little bit more details and try to figure out what exactly is going on here. Because when we look at Twitter, we saw that Ziga, the co-founder of OriginTrail, posted, "Not much talk needed when Partners says it all." So when we check deeper into what was posted, it says, "Our healthcare sector team is closely working with our strategic partner Trace Labs to offer the end-to-end data management through a decentralized knowledge graph, allowing all supply chain systems, audit management, diversion, track and trace, product traceability, planning, and logistic operations to be linked into one data management hub for dashboard macro events." We have finally worked out a neutral way, and I want to highlight to everyone here, they say neutral. We have finally worked out a neutral way to link all internal supply chain systems to drive data, analytics, and ultimately visibility. Read further details in linked article. And who are they linking? This is BSI, the British Standards Institution, linking the very same article that we were just discussing. OriginTrail is truly flexing their muscles in the industry right now, showing that they are able to provide everything the World Health Organization needs, and in a one-of-a-kind, open source, decentralized, standards-based way. We are here to win. We are here to help. We are here to get the job done. Of course, looking a little bit deeper into Courtney's background, she's been with BSI for about 7 years and 2 months. She's the current sector development director of the healthcare and life sciences field for BSI. She worked in risk management and resilience. She was a supply chain solutions manager. She was a senior client services analyst, and the list goes on. What was also interesting to see was she also worked at BSI America as a senior client services analyst over there as well. She has quite the weight in this industry itself, working between both the American and European industries for BSI. Now, I have to get a little bit of personal opinion in here. The last time we saw OriginTrail working with BSI to develop solutions, we ended up securing about 40% of all imports into America, working with some of the largest names, the largest manufacturers: Costco, Home Depot, Walmart, JCPenney, Target, you name it. Their factories are on the OriginTrail decentralized network.
It is an association primarily of large retailers with about $1.5 trillion of purchasing power each year. And these are within the United States, and it does extend to some parts of the European Union. These are the largest retailers in the world, the biggest manufacturers, the biggest procurers of different goods, and really big use of the supply chain. So, you know, we have Target as our chairperson. Target, I believe, is the #3 importer into the United States in terms of gross number of containers as well as value. Walmart's in here, Home Depot, Lowe's, JCPenney. Really, it's the who's who in terms of retailer in the United States.
So when I think about OriginTrail working with BSI again, but this time for the pharmaceutical industry, in an industry where we see there is no other competitors that can really operate at the level of OriginTrail, and we in an industry where we see there is radical, or I guess a lot of energy as it relates to adopting new technologies, because the global supply chain is weakening or it's buckling at its knees because of the pandemic. So it's easy to see that OriginTrail may be one of the first entities to supply their solutions to companies like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Bayer. Now, let's listen to Yuri, the general manager at OriginTrail, discuss his thoughts on this implementation.
The healthcare, life sciences and healthcare industry, actually, we have a couple of things that we're working on there with BSI that are in different stages of maturity. And the most exciting one that is, I mean, it's most exciting because it's closest to being mature at the moment is something that we'll hopefully be able to talk in the next month about, and not only talk but also to show. And it is about I know most of the things I've tried to also convey in the blog post that put together last week on how different things that we're looking at interact with the OriginTrail knowledge graph and where the value is. And when we're talking, especially when we're talking about traceability here, right? And this goes to any pharmaceutical drug, really. It's all the same principle, be it vaccine, be it donated products, be it something completely else, anything that needs to be done, anything that needs to be traced on a lot or a unit level is where OriginTrail really plays an important, or can play a very important and value-added role. It's a super cool use case for OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. And it's also very opportune because pharmaceutical industry in itself is already very standardized based on GS1. Right, so every product needs to have a serialized serial number. It needs to have a serial number on it. There are, data matrix codes on each and every product that you can use to scan to get information about it. So the industry, from a data standards, how products are marked and how packaging is marked, is kind of very ripe to be kind of included on the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph, and that's where the exciting piece comes. Now you can do all sorts of things with this, right? From tracking and tracing to knowing where you have products that have been stolen, diverted, ended up in a market that they were not intended for. Building systems that would enable you to, for example, burn a certain serial number because it's been stolen. So when somebody tries to administer it or verify it, they would get a red flag saying, "Oh, I'm using a stolen product." And then building systems around this that enable not only safety of the people actually consuming the end product, but actually also enabling governments, the government agencies, and also the authorities actually to close in on these things and identify where are drugs being counterfeit. Okay, we're seeing them here and here and here. Kind of building actions on top of these things. So now I kind of gone into many different directions. Hopefully in the next month we'll be able to communicate a very kind of precise thing about this solution that is the most mature, and it's not that far away. BSI is excited, we're excited, so that's kind of covering the pharmaceutical healthcare sector.
Now, Yuri, at the end of this article, did indeed discuss that they would seem to be a perfect fit for Pharma Ledger. Now, if you know what Pharma Ledger is, the Pharma Ledger is the pharmaceutical consortia really based out of the European Union. Now, it says here, one such example is the Pharma Ledger initiative that brings together some of the largest industry players with the aim of providing a widely trusted platform that supports the design and adoption of blockchain-enabled healthcare solutions. Now, if we take a deeper look at who is a part of the Pharma Ledger, consortia, well, we see Novartis, we see AstraZeneca. Of course, these people create the vaccines. They're creating vaccines. We see Bayer and some of the biggest names in industry. And we also see Pfizer at the bottom. So I'm really wondering, I'm very excited to see where this is going. Where is this OriginTrail healthcare solution going to make its big splash in the world? Because trust me, it will make a big splash. And it is because it is truly one of a kind. Until then, I will see you beautiful people next time.
Everybody